Timing is everything in life.
Thank you.
Hey, that guy that got the dog, he's a retired state cop?
He's going to be. He's got him now. He's going to retire in 19.
Follow me out to the car after they...
Welcome, good evening to the November 6, 2023 meeting of the Yarmouth Board of Health. First item, of course, is attendance. Eric, are you present?
Present.
Mary?
Present.
I'm present. Hillard, I'm okay. Larry?
Present?
Charlie?
Yeah.
Okay, we're all here. That's great. Just a note again that this is a hybrid participation meeting. So obviously people can attend in person. There are instructions on how to get on Zoom on our website with 2 phone numbers if people just wanted to call in and listen. The first item here, we have public comment. Let's see how long the line is of people lined up. Anyone at home? I don't see anyone. Okay, we're up to number 2. This is an updated housing program. Is someone going to tell us a little bit about it?
I'll take that, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
you're on. Great.
Thank you very much. We do have some updates for the 2024 housing program. We are expecting close to roughly 3,291 applications for our housing program. We are going to send out a roughly 2,048 applications. We did do a test batch last Thursday. We sent out over 300 applications, and as of Monday today, we've already received 18 back. So it is we got some good numbers, good feedback going on. We do have a new rental registration, thanks to Deb and she's our current housing agent. She was a former Board of Health member. She put together a beautiful registration that outlines the new OpenGov program to be for people to be able to go online and do it all. It's very simple. Step-by-steps are laid out. It's very nice and organized. It's highlighted where to go and do everything. We're also sending out an affidavit for those who are not renting anymore. Instead of going through the whole process before, it's just a nice affidavit. They just have to sign it, send it back, saying they're not going to be renting with us anymore. So it's going to be a big program. We're trying to get it underway, get it organized, and get it together. We have 2 housing agents that are working on this. That's their full-time jobs, and it's a big program. It's a big part of the health department's daily activities that we do. So it's very nice.
Barry, I have a question. The in-law apartments, the accessory apartments, if that passes town meeting and it can be rented by anybody other than, as well as family?
Yep.
Does that require one of these?
Yes.
Yes. So
Yes.
are they
If
required
you-
right now to have it?
Not if if that. Anytime you have any kind of tenant, whether it's a non-family member living at your house, that is considered a tenant. That's what some stuff we're coming across now. So they are considered tenants. You would need a rental application for them. So.
Thank you.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, Mary, thank you for bringing that up. It's important that the community understands, and the listeners at home and the board understands, because you may get questions on this. It's certainly not a volunteer program, but it does require compliance by landlords, property owners, and it's the only way that we can really monitor the housing stock. So they put in applications, close to 3,000 that are put in, and our housing inspectors go out and they monitor it by the housing code, making sure that there's a whole list of things to make sure the health and safety issues. It takes, as Barry mentioned, a significant amount of our time, but it's important that the community understands we need those in, because you can imagine scheduling. People aren't always, sometimes landlords aren't always in town. It's very time-consuming for this office, and I do have to mention Deb Brunage, your former member, as Barry said, she led the program on this, and she really put this together. A tremendous asset for our staff. Yeah. Really, I know you miss her on the board, but we're thrilled to have her. She really adds tremendous value for us in the office, and she was the one that really led this program, as Barry showed you, and you have in front of you the new application, it's been streamlined. Erica, I also have to say, Erica Polite, she is really she writes points on this where all the applications come into her, whether online or on the mail, and then it's diverted and triaged through her. So that program is really, we really feel like that's now taking stride, where now we're working with the homeowners and the landlords, and now they understand what it is that we're trying to accomplish. It's not to be punitive anyway, but it's to protect them and the people living there. So it's short-term, long-term, and seasonal tenants.
And again, just to follow up with what Jay said, all the applications and all the information is online underneath the health department website. I'm not that computer savvy, but it's set up where if you go on there, it's set up step by step by step. Deb, Erica, and Logan did a very nice job getting it ready for the public to work with it.
So that's listing all the details that you may be looking for when you do a site visit.
Yep, there's a frequently asked questions section that we're going to put up that has what the health. It's not exactly what they look for. They look for 100 things, but it's the big things that they look for, that the smoke detectors, screens, stuff like that. Yeah, it's on there also, because they do get a lot of frequently asked questions, what they're coming to look for. So then Logan did put that together. That'll be up on the website. It'll be nice. So
How do the people who are no longer offering a place to be rented, how are you getting this form or knowing who they are again?
that's the affidavit that went in with the packet of the 3,291 that went out. And then all they have to do, if they're not going to rent, right there it says residential property not offered for rent, just put their name, their date, and right there, and they just mail it back to us.
So you went to the list from last year to notify the people they need to fill out the form?
We send that out to everybody. It was a general email or mailing that went out to everybody. It was a mass email. Like I
Yeah.
said, we did 300 just as a test run.
Okay.
They got a new machine that folds and stuffs for them, so that takes off a lot of time for the ladies doing that. So
So for people who don't have access to a computer,
yes, they can, and if they don't have access to a computer, they still, the rental registration form that Deb put together on the bottom, they can still fill that out, either mail it back or bring it in to us.
when you sent the mailing out, you sent a copy of this form?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, both these to them, so.
We're hoping individuals will electronically file through OpenGov, but you're absolutely right. And so they do have the option either through paper. We're trying to eliminate that, be electronic, in our processing. But the program, again, it's the turn of the year, but we're hoping the more they can comply, the more we can educate, the more we can engage with the community, property owners. It's important, so.
Where does the $80 per unit go? Where does the income go?
Wastewater management program?
We don't have a revolving fund in any way. It's not an enterprise account. It goes into the general fund.
okay.
Yeah, no, it's not dedicated to the housing program by any means. But really, quite frankly, to the credit of the town administrator and the selectmen, we now have 2 housing inspectors that we did not have before. And that is making it manageable. Because in addition to that, there's a lot of questions, as Barry said. There's also complaints on a regular basis. So it isn't just calling up, phone calls that are being made, scheduling, and then, again, paperwork and getting the certificates out. There's a significant amount of counter time, phone time, and then, like I say, complaints, parking issues, things of that nature.
Complaints take a lot of time.
Yeah, there's a
Really
lot of time.
labor intensive. And this board was really pushing for the town to recognize that the fees will pay for an investigator, for a person. They'll become pretty close for the money who's coming in and the benefits for what that person would be providing.
Well, we went to the finance committee a couple of years ago and supported that.
Look for an upward adjustment, or to get the 80, the
Second
recognition? Oh, to get the
Yeah.
second person?
Yes.
Yes, but I can't imagine it would be operational with one person.
No, it wouldn't be.
No.
No,
Those
the
numbers.
percentage of the sites that were visited were low.
Right.
Right.
Looking at it, hopefully we're much higher this year, which,
Almost complete, all of them. And I asked that when I first took over here, to say, well, what happened? These applications are coming in, Individuals are doing the good faith effort, and they're sending in their $80 in their application, and they don't hear back from us. That's completely unacceptable, and that just doesn't happen anymore. Only because the board, I didn't realize that you had advocated for us. There's now 2 inspectors, and we are being able to manage that. But I can tell you, they're busy. They're 6 to 8 inspections a day, and then the other work that has to happen. So they're on the road, and they're busy, and they're moving. And not everyone, that sometimes there's re-inspections that have to happen. There's a lot of coordination that it might be over to the buildings department, electrical, plumbing, other things that have to happen. So it's a very fluid program, and there's a lot going on there, but 2 people can manage that. There's an ebb and a flow with Barry said the applications be coming in now, the beginning part of the year. But some individuals might not be down onto the Cape till, it could be April, March, somewhere in there, and then the scheduling starts.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
A couple of questions, Jay. Is each location examined every year? Is it inspected every year?
No, since we have so many and we have so much, we have broken it down. More of the seasonal units, those are usually more the nicer ones. People are coming in for a week at a time. They keep those up a lot. If there's something wrong with, they're usually the first ones to reach out to us. So we're going to go a few years on those. It's the year-round ones that we are going to try to get to every year, if not every 2 years. It's almost physically impossible to get to 3,000 plus rentals every year with only 2 people, but we are going to do a big majority of them. The housing and agents and Miss Erica have kind of broken it down to what they'll be going for. So it's a much manageable number than it was before. I couldn't tell you what it was before my tenure here, but they are going to get a significant amount of them in. And now that we have OpenGov, it's a lot easier to trace and follow up with owners and stuff like that.
Now that you have what?
OpenGov, our new computer system.
How does it help?
Everything, it talks to building, it talks to health, it talks to conservation, it talks to finance. I can punch in one address and see everything that's going on with that it's an amazing program that the town has adopted. So this is the first year I've been here. It started in May. So it's going to take a few kinks to work it out. We'll see how this year's, and as I had my meeting with my housing staff, Miss Erica, if it doesn't work, whatever doesn't work this year, we'll just tweak it and work it better for next year. And what worked good this year, we'll emphasize that for next year. I had a new program started in my previous town. It took about 1.5 years, 2 years for it to become very smooth. But for only being 4 months old, I see this program we're on top of it, and it's going to work well.
Right.
For our agents. We'll get the most bang for our buck out of them.
Larry, to your question, I think you maybe have more, Larry, but it's important that you understand. That's a great question. Every time, we're going to triage this. If we have properties, seasonal properties that are being well cared for, and some of the properties in town are multi-million-dollar properties, there's no need for us to keep going back. So they'll be on probably a 2 to 3 year cycle. We'll look at the inspections. If there's been no deficiencies in any way, we know that we can move that right along and respond, and then allow them to then have their rental season move seamlessly. But if there are some high problem properties, we're going to make sure that we're there.
Are there any exceptions to this application, or does every rental property have to submit this application?
If you have tenants, you have to have a rental application.
Okay.
And some property owners here are not familiar with this, or they have, I think, maybe, Mr. Chairman, you had said that they're going to retract, we're going to assume everyone is a renter. It's on our list until they sent us the affidavit, and they say they are now removing themselves from the list with a signed signature. It isn't just a verbal on the phone. They're going to sign that, in fact, they are no longer renting. And that's fine with us. Then we close that out. But to be honest, in season, July and August, we're getting a lot of phone calls here. 6 parked cars here, and we don't have it down as a rental.
Right.
Housing inspectors are going out. That's quality of life for the residents, right? To make sure that, in fact, we have it as a rental, to make sure that the capacity then that's determined by the septic system. You know, if it's a 3-bedroom, it's a 6 capacity. You can't have 6 cars there. If you're having, more than likely, they're doubling up on their capacity, and that's a quality of life for individuals that live here year-round or other tenants. So there are rules that have to be enforced, and it is time-consuming, but we feel like we have a pretty good handle on it this year, very good handle, quite frankly.
Go ahead, Larry.
How are the corporate rentals handled? The same way?
Same way, if you have multiple units, you have to have multiple applications.
Application for each resident rental?
Yep. Yes, you have to have, there's one company in town that has almost 500 units, and they have 500 applications, so. And the good thing about the new OpenGov system, as Jay mentioned, if we get a call July 2nd that there's X amount of cars at such place, in our previous, we'd have to go to the files, dig through all the files, find that address, go through it, look to see if they had rental history in there. If that wasn't in there, then we'd have to go to another system. Now, hold on. Punch it up right then and there. All their history is right there. Boom. Oh, yeah, they do have rental history. It's for X amount of people. Or, no, they do not have a rental permit right now. Thank you for letting us know. We'll send one of our agents out. So, the new program's going to help just that part cut back time greatly, so.
What kind of return rate do you get from the 3,291? How many respond and send in their money? What do you do if they don't?
We follow up with letters. So we'll take probably the 2,900 that respond, and then the other ones that haven't responded. Again, like Jay mentioned, a lot of people don't come back until May, June. And like, well, I'm not back there, I'm not renting yet, so I don't have to do it. That's when they come back. We do have formulated letters and everything. We do have, and with all the information, once they get their email into the system, one of the steps is you can't go farther in the system unless you at least have an email and a phone number, which is great, because that's how we can contact people quickly.
What happens if any inspectors feel uncomfortable from a safety standpoint of doing inspections?
I have always, we have a female health agent. I always told her if she's uncomfortable in any sort of way, just leave, go with the next agent, or we have a very good relationship with police. They'll go out there with us.
Okay, good.
I would never put any one of my agents in a situation that they're not comfortable in, or myself, or I'm pretty sure Jay wouldn't do anything like
Dangerous
that.
animals is a whole, but you're in an intimate part of people's lives. You're right into their homes. You're going through bedrooms. You're going through living areas, basements, things of that nature. If there's any concern, we make sure that 2 individuals will come.
The condition of the home, whether there's a dog, whether it's a small dog barking or a big dog barking or an attacked parrot, we don't have to go in, and we'll make them reschedule, and we'll charge them a rescheduling fee if they're not safe, so.
What's the penalty for not complying with the,
Eventually, they'll get citation letters, and they'll come in front of you,
Okay.
but that's why we send them the affidavit to say they're not renting, so.
okay,
The health agent,
penalty for not filling out this application?
yes,
there must be.
I think it's a monetary fine
Yeah,
if
okay.
they don't get it in by a certain time, so.
And what's the number again? That,
3,291, give or take 2.
It's a fluid process, right? Not every, I don't want to portray it this way, but it's kind of, some folks do it as a catch me if you can. I'm going to rent until you find me. And what we do then is we go to the Department of Revenue and we cross-reference for the Department of Revenue and then our application list to make sure that we're catching everyone, because the Department of Revenue, they're paying taxes on that, right? And so, but it's difficult. It's always a fluid number. It's always moving. It's dynamic. But we have, you'd be surprised, individuals or some neighbors are calling on one another. That's a rental up the street, things of that nature. So there's a number of different ways. But by and large, Yarmouth has been very compliant, and we feel very positive. So I don't want to put a bad light on the program. It's a very positive, but more than anything, I hope owners, landlords understand it allows us to monitor the housing stock to keep it at a level for health and safety, and that's the state sanitary code. And by all means, we work with it. Barry mentioned smoke detectors, safety issues, but it can be screen doors. There's a whole host of things that they're finding, and it might be a plumbing inspector, it might be an electrical inspector that comes in. It's in their best interest to comply. It's for the safety of one of their biggest investments, their home or second home. So we certainly have found that we work with individuals. But this starts the process of letting us knock on the door to meet them and make sure their property is in compliance with the state sanitary code.
And a lot of the town property management companies that do short-term rentals or seasonal rentals, they know that you have to have a rental from the town. So they won't even advertise it until they have all their paperwork. So that helps a lot with a lot of them. Yes, Charlie?
So this right here, that everybody has to comply to, gives you the right to go into anybody's house at anybody's time, at anybody, for anything.
Not,
We can go in, we can't, to go in, the tenant has to have at least 24-hour notice and they have to be there. We would never go into a house without somebody there without us.
But this still gives you the right to go into the house, whether they want you or not.
well,
Is that right?
So if they want us not, so if they are renting, if they sent this to us, if they sent in that application,
Yes.
that is triggering us that they're saying they want us there.
Yes.
They're putting that in. What comes with this,
Maybe they're just filling this out and giving you the $80 so they can rent the house, but I still don't understand why that gives you the right to go in at your end.
It's part of the CMR 410 code, the housing code. We have the right per the state. Once they in the rental program, we have the right to go in. If it gets down to the point where if we get a complaint from a tenant, they'll want us in there. A tenant will want us in there so we can let the landlord know, they'll correct it. Landlords usually know if they don't let us in, we can cite them also. And there is ways we would never just barge into a house, but we have to give notice, and I think it's CRM 410, I think it's 900. If it boils down to it, we could get a warrant from the Board of Health to go into a house.
Exactly what I was asking, so that gives you the right to do anything you want at any time you want.
not anything, we're there to enforce the state sanitary code. We don't make things up. There is a code, fairly thick, and we go through that, making sure, and working with, we want compliance. We're not trying to be punitive in any way, but this is for the health and safety of the individuals that live there. And they're not the property owner, they are a tenant. So we go in with the state sanitary code, and we walk through them to make sure that is in compliance. There's rules to follow, and then we try to work with them, and maybe there's a corrective measures. Sometimes we issue it, and it's all set. But we're not just going in, and the hypothetical that you presented, that we're just going into properties and demanding any way we want. Please, I don't want to depict it to be that at all. We're going in to protect the health and safety of the tenants that are there, and we want to work with property owners. That's the mission of that program. And that's a bylaw passed by the town. I hope you understand that we're not randomly knocking on doors. They're filling out the application that you have, and they're saying that's the requirement. And now, in order for us to issue that, we may have to go, if like I said, if the inspectional history has been fine over the past couple of years, we're going to issue that. If there has been a non-compliance, if there have been corrective measures, things that we feel that might trigger an inspection, we probably should put some eyes on, we're going to go and take a look with warning, with some scheduling, making sure it's convenient for everyone. We don't demand that we let them know a specific time. We're not giving them the noon to 4 timeframe. We say that we're going to be there at 2 o'clock. We're there at 2 o'clock. We're very we want to be considerate and respectful of individuals' times, and that's kind of how that program runs. But we don't have carte blanche to just go in and knock on doors and just go in through. They're filling out an application, and we respond.
Okay? Okay?
No, I'm not okay with it, but what the hell? You know, I just don't like it. Doesn't feel comfortable.
Okay, well,
I've seen situations where the town will decide they're gonna do something, and the homeowner are basically tough shit.
We don't do anything.
lot of circumstances,
We don't do
not
anything
just
that's
this,
not
but-
in our code. We don't, everything we ask of a homeowner is within the state housing code. We're not asking anything else. And it's a minimum standard of living too. That's what it has to meet the minimum standards. We're not asking for lawns to be pretty and bushes to be trimmed and stuff like that. It has to meet minimum standards, so.
If someone purchased land, let's say, and buys the house in June and plans on renting, they're new to the town, how will they learn about all this?
Usually by the time that they start renting, they'll find out. Their neighbors will tell us. I think assessing does some research online for just check to see if there's Craigslist ads or Airbnbs and stuff like that. So it's not a perfect system. It's definitely not a perfect system. You could probably go years without getting a rental permit, but it's,
Sounds pretty good to me.
yeah.
No, but you bring up a good point. We do have to, we're doing some research, online, social media, Facebook, where they're renting, and say, well, we don't have them. Erica really, quite frankly, and I didn't mention, congratulations to Erica, really, she puts the whole program together. There's a lot that has to happen here, and it's a big program, and there's a lot of moving parts. And so there is some non-compliance. We understand that, and we do the best we can to try to narrow that. But, there's a certain percentage, and I wouldn't put a number to it, but there's a certain percentage that don't comply until we can catch them. And I'm not going to present to you that we catch everyone. We don't. I say catch, but that they rent and they're not part of the program.
Right.
It's just like in the building department. I'm sure people redo bathrooms and redo kitchens without permits. It happens.
Certainly does, sure.
We don't go out chasing people, but when it comes to our attention, we'll follow up with it.
Great.
So.
Do you think most of the real estate agents in town know?
Oh, 100%. We get calls all day long. Hey, I am representing a buyer for such and such property. What do they need to do if they want to decide to rent it? Erica and Christine, they get those questions all the time, so.
This program isn't unique to Yarmouth, please note that, and I'm sure you understand. This is up and down the Cape. All the communities have a rent. I think you just saw Provincetown just revamped theirs at their last town meeting. I think it was a week ago, maybe more. So this housing program, I'll say universal, but it's up and down the Cape. It's to help landlords and to ensure that when tenants come to Yarmouth, where they're renting meets a certain standard.
You're safe and,
Right.
right.
Okay, let's move on then. Third item is an update on migrant family relocation.
Sure. So this has been in the news quite a bit, and I'm sure you folks, the board has been following this as the community has, and it's, the town administrator has been very good. Each week, he's sending out updates and press releases to let the community understand where the number of individuals that are staying there, how they're integrating with the schools, meals, families, transportation, things of that nature. So the most recent update, which actually has changed since I was there the other day, it was October 26th, and the town administrator announced that there were 32 families and 110 individuals. That has been upwardly adjusted. It's now 115 individuals there. I think it might be 33 families. Each time I visit, I'm met by 4 National Guard are on site. This is now the Harbor Suites, if just you remember. One of the big issues that happened at the state level and the change to the program is that the governor on the 31st of October has capped the emergency sheltering program at 7,500. I think today might be the day that or tomorrow, that they're reaching that number. I don't know if you followed this in the news. They say that individuals will now go on a waiting list. I really still don't know what a waiting list means and where individuals would go. But the fact that they've capped that and we're at 115 does not mean that there's potential that we could get more individuals because they move now within the system. individuals, and I've talked to the National Guard, that individuals move and maybe go up to a family member or a different, some with a shelter maybe closer to their home, closer to where their children go to school. But I do have to give recognition to the DY School Department. Almost each time, invariably, when I'm there, there's either a social worker, a counselor, there's someone, an intake person there making sure that the children are being taken care of, that there's seamlessly a connection for education. And to the superintendent's credit, that program has run very, very well for the children who are in a very, very difficult situation. The other part, the Yarmouth community, on a regular basis, just the other day, Friday, I received an email from a philanthropic group that wanted to provide Christmas meals over at the Harbor Suites for the migrants. There has been a tremendous outreach from individuals and organizations to help. They have it's a mom and a child. I think it was referred to as a daycare center, but it really isn't. It's kind of a play group that they have. They're not really providing daycare in the terms that we kind of know it, but they're trying to teach the children English, and it's a play group and really kind of sense of community so that they don't feel so alone. It's traumatic for individuals that being here. All right? So they've really tried to get a sense there that there's now a sense of community. Meals are coming in, where the opportunities are. It's 115 individuals. That number shifts on a fairly regular basis. We're monitoring it. There's been no communicable diseases. I know that had been talked about sometime, not from this board, but in the community. Quite frankly, there were, in my opinion, there was a lot of misinforming and misinformation and maybe some scenarios that actually never were realized. It never happened. There were no communicable diseases from that. And the school department and the nurses from the state have been doing vaccinations. And I've gone over that with you in the past to follow through on that. So the program seems to be running well, running very well.
Okay, Jake, who's picking up the tab on schools, food, transportation, and all of this?
Yeah, so the health department doesn't get involved in as far as the financial.
If we get involved, I just want to know if it's the town picking up the tab on this?
Oh, no, the town, no, there is no town expense.
I mean, we're sending these kids to school. Who's picking up the tab on that?
Okay, well, that, actually, the state is reimbursing on that part. They are about, I think it's, I don't know, I don't want to be correct in this, but I believe it's $18,000 a student. The state is reimbursing. As far as what we're donating, my time is to go over there, to take a look and monitor, and then I leave. That's the level of my involvement to make sure.
Just interested in who's paying the tab.
But Jay, that's beyond our purview, right? That question, beyond our purview.
Without question. This, again, we're venturing into the political aspect of things. There's no politics in public health, right? I'm going in to make sure they're residents in the community, and we're making sure that it's safe for them to live.
Is there another location or other locations being considered for
No.
this?
That's a great question. No, that's a great question. The fact that they're capping that, and there had been some concern, right? That in many communities, there are multiple hotels. There are multiple locations, becomes incredibly logistically difficult. That's not the case here. So, but I don't want to give the perception that, in fact, that number might upwardly adjust from 115, only because there may be some shifting and moving from Otis or some other communities, because people do move, they up and move. It may be downwardly adjusted as well. But the cap, the fact that the governor said 7,500, and on the end of October, they're limiting that, I don't imagine, I may be wrong, but I don't imagine that they're going to be opening up another site, because they've put a financial cap to this. And that's from the state. I think, Charlie, to your point, these are state dollars that are being put forward, town dollars, except the school department. But I am not equipped to be answering information from the schools.
I know all the DY students already get free lunches through the DY school system, so that's already built into it. So all the students get free lunches.
This particular location where they are coming under this? In other words, do they have to fill out a rental form and all that stuff where they're keeping these people?
They're not. They're not. That's actually an issue because there's a zoning issue to this. Our building commissioner is working to see, is this functioning as a hotel or is it functioning as a boarding house? And that's under discussion now with the zoning laws that the town has in place.
So they're exempt, basically.
I wouldn't use that word. I wouldn't portray it that way. No, I would not. Are they functioning as a hotel? And if they're functioning as a hotel motel, then there's the zoning issues as far as what is a long-term stay. That is being discussed. And again, those discussions are outside the public health purview.
Okay. This seems like a long-term stay.
Well, this is, if you read in the paper, the governor has said in the office, Secretary Augustus has said typically about a year to 14 months. So I don't want to portray that they're transitioning out very quickly. That's what I believe the contract is, and the governor said that herself. She has said that about a year to 14 months. So,
And then what are they gonna do?
yeah, again, you're asking, I don't know.
Okay?
Okay, these are legal immigrants, correct?
Yeah, well, they call them migrants, so there's been some sort of process to that.
Okay.
They've gone through a vetting.
Been asked that question, I couldn't really answer it.
They've gone through vetting, right?
Uh-huh.
They've come through, and they're referred to us in the emails that I'm getting from the state, the regional director. They're referred to as migrants. But I will say, Larry, if you go online and look, the superintendent does refer to individuals as immigrants. They're immigrants, and I believe it was 162.
60, yeah,
162?
yeah.
And 25 of them are from the Harbor Suites. I'm going off memory here, so I may be off a few, but I believe it was 162 immigrants. So that's now scattered throughout the community. There's congregate housing, 25 students from here, small portion. So we're well prepared. We handle this on a regular basis. But I'm sure you get questions as a board members. I'm sure you do. Trying to keep you updated. The town manager, or administrator, I should say, sorry, just wanted all the information to be funneled through press releases, and that's what's going on. All right?
Okay, everyone, let's move on then. There's an update next on the coronavirus. Is that you, Barry?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you can see, the COVID DPH Cape Cod positivity rate, the month 10/1 to 10/28, Yarmouth was at 12.9% positivity rate with 66 positive cases. The 2-week period of 10/15 to 10/28, Yarmouth was at 12.39% positivity rate with 29 positives. And then the week of 10/22 to 10/28, it jumped up a little bit in positivity rate to 15.47% positivity with 17 positives. On a good note, the Board of Health, we ordered 1,800 test kits from the state for free. I ordered them on a Monday afternoon, and they were here Tuesday morning. We have gone through every single one of those test kits already. They were very popular. We donated to the DY school systems, to the senior center, and we had them here at Town Hall. So they were, we put them out to the public as much as we could, take them. We also got about 1,800 face masks also. I thought we were getting, the face mask was the shields, but a lot of people like those also. So they got those right there. When we got them, they went quick. And I'm glad there was 5 tests per kit too. So one kit should have been good for a family. So there was a lot of kits out there for a lot of families, so, testing themselves.
I think one thing that's probably increasing the at-home testing is that when you call to make an appointment, they ask you the screening questions. And if you indicate that you've had any respiratory symptoms, then the next question is, have you tested for COVID? So I think people are used to now knowing that they're probably going to have to do that themselves or make some plans to go get tested somewhere else.
And I'm thinking, this is my opinion, that why the positivity rate percent went up a little bit, it was because people were testing. They had the access to the free kits. I think they were a good thing, so.
Barry, what's the protocol for a positivity test? How do you determine the results? Does it come from medical facilities, or does it come from individuals reporting that they're positive?
From the kits that we give out, or this information right here? This comes from Maven. This is the state site. Like, if you go to your doctor, when you get tested, your information gets put into the system, and it gets traced from there.
Is there any legal requirement for individuals to report if they're
No,
positive or negative?
not at this point.
Right. So there's no way to know what the positivity rate really is as far as individuals?
Correct. Like, so if you do a at-home kit, it's,
And then self-isolate?
yeah,
Yeah. That wouldn't be reported.
no.
But the kits that I just received free from the government has verbiage on it that tells you how to report a
Yes.
positive result. And the
Same with all the
previous-
ones we got in.
Yeah, the previous kits that I used anyway didn't have that, but it makes it very easy to go ahead and report, if you're so inclined, but you don't have to.
I mean, the statistics are not as valuable as they used to be where you were getting tested. People weren't testing at home. So things have changed. At one point, it was really very detailed. We had a lot of information. That's no longer the case.
At the same time, what it tells us is prudence is still mandatory.
Yeah.
Well put.
If you're not feeling good, don't go hang out with other people.
Okay.
I just have one question. I'm a little confused by the numbers because the statistic on the bottom, Yarmouth, 12.95% positivity rate, that indicates 66 positives, is that correct?
Yes.
And then above that, it says 12.39% is only 29 positives.
Because the denominator is the number of people testing.
that are tested.
Oh, okay,
What's the
okay.
universe?
Got-
Right.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. I knew someone would have the answer.
Thank you, Jim.
They told me there'd be no math involved.
It won't be on the exam, don't worry. Okay, update, influenza clinic.
That'd be me again, Mr. Chairman, thank you. First, with the clinic, I would like to give a big thank you and a shout out to the Yarmouth Senior Center for letting us host our 2023 flu clinic at the Senior Center. We had 200 spots open to get flu shots. Had 107 people scheduled, and 97 shots were given the day of the test on Friday. I was number one. It was quick, painless, easy. The VNA had it set up that was very, very smooth, and people said it was one of the smoothest things they had to do. Previous years, when you had to go, you had to stop at one point and get checked in. You had to fill out a 6-7 line questionnaire. Then you had to go to another spot. The VNA did a great job of getting it very smooth. You just had to do your name and I think one other, like, are you feeling good or not? Boom. Then you checked in. At one point, we had 2 people in line waiting, and they waited. They sat down and then got back up, went to the clinician. We did have a small number. We asked around. We did do it a little bit later in the season, so most of our clientele that we were targeting had already had the shot. So we're discussing maybe doing a little earlier, getting with the VNA and the senior center and setting up a little earlier for the season next year so we can get a larger turnout. I think would be a great idea for this, just to get even more numbers. Overall, it was a great turnout. It was a great afternoon. The VNA, big thank you. The MRC, the volunteers that showed up, thank you very much also. And a big thank you to Carl for doing all sorts of legwork. This was a new site we did. We've always done it at St. Pius. This was a new year, a new site. He did an amazing job putting it together also. So thank you, Carl.
Any questions, anyone?
Just so
Comment?
the board understands, that was last Friday from 1 to 3. And as Barry said, seamless.
Thanks for doing that, Barry.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is the approval of minutes. Looks like there are two meetings. First would be September 18th. I'm sure everyone went ahead and kind of reviewed them. Any edits?
Yes, just a minor one on the September 18th, on number 2, number 3, under number 2, there's just a not missing. The sentence, "Church services and/or events are not conducted every day, so the flow to the septic will not be much," rather than "will be much." You too.
So what should the word be not there? Is
Yeah.
that the edit?
Right.
Okay, so if there are no other edits, it's great, good job. So, we need to vote on that. You want to make a motion on that?
I move that we approve the minutes of the September 18th meeting. with that
Second?
one correction.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, just say aye, aye. Eric, yes?
Aye.
Good, okay. And the second one would be from the minutes here on October 2nd. That was the meeting to take a look at. Any comments, anyone? I didn't.
See anything?
Okay, looks like we could pass. Anyone take a motion on that?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Can I say aye?
Yes.
I wasn't there.
And, okay, we don't want you to vote,
No.
okay?
Right, half the time, they're hanging out on the television. Being here is not.
Okay, thank you for pointing that out, sir. Now, number 7, we have new and old business. So, anyone, including Jay, Barry, any new or old business?
In your package you got today, there was our poultry regulations. We do have a potential variance next meeting for a rooster. Someone in town has a rooster. So I just wanted to, and Jay mentioned it also, that we just wanted to get the packet in here so you could just kind of update and brief yourselves before if a potential person that wants a rooster coming in with a variance.
So, somebody complained?
Yes. No, Phil and I went out and did our annual inspection and saw a rooster.
Their permit clearly states, and it actually says no roosters allowed.
Stuttle.
Exactly.
They said, "What rooster?"
Yeah, so it is stated on their permit, it's clearly delineated, no rooster is allowed. I do anticipate the next meeting, you'll see a,
Did I ask you why?
why is that?
Why no roosters allowed?
Why the board didn't allow a rooster on that, I don't know what the thinking was behind that, but I can tell you, the permit says no roosters allowed, no rooster allowed on their permit.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not.
That goes back to 2017, and it was unanimous, I mean, everyone signed it,
Right, right.
so.
I'm guessing it's mostly a noise issue,
Noise pollution, I think.
yeah.
So the 2017, that
Yep.
it's signed by the board members?
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
so-
five.
Parking ordinance,
So that would be the reason why.
Well, it'll be a mouthy broad.
But I wanted the board to understand, if nothing else, even if we don't see a variance, you may want to take that up as something to look at, to say, should these be looked at and updated? Regulations change, don't change. Larry, you seem like you're interested in maybe discussing something. I think it's been 6 years, probably to take a look at it. Okay? And actually, a variance may bring that to the point. And Larry, if you could, your expertise and direction on that may be extremely helpful.
well, it'd be an opinion. I'll be happy.
But it's an informed one. We all have an opinion, but you have an informed one.
I didn't read the book, we were in school that day.
No rooster's better than we do.
Yeah, well, that's your professional background, so we're going to look to you on that one.
And Eric, would you feel confident in trying to determine whether one of the birds is a rooster or not?
I'll bring my magnifying glass.
You don't need a magnifying glass. You know when they're out there.
Okay,
You hear them before you see them, right?
All right, any other new or old business?
I do, Mr. Chairman, if I could. This is the time of year when applications are going out, right? The tobacco applications have already gone out, and some have already returned. 29 of them, they went out probably about 2 weeks ago. Okay, they went out in October. But the retail licenses, 44, food service, 116. There are some others, some nonprofits, some temporaries, things of that nature. They're all going to be going out probably within the next 2 weeks, that those will be going out, so that by the end of December, we're asking that those to come in. But the tobacco, because there's limited, right, and if they don't get those in on time, they could actually be forfeiting that, and you've had to deal with that issue in the past. So those have gone out, and I don't know the return rate on that, but all of them have been out, like I say, for several weeks. So that's busy in the office, keeping the applications. So like the rentals, this time of year, it's getting renewals out for our business community. Additionally, you have in your packet, and this will intersect with the board. It's the plastic water bottle ban that you heard probably about 2 months ago. They came in. Well, that's coming into effect on December 31st of this year. And again, it's so the community understands and the board knows, this is banning single-use bottles, non-flavored, non-carbonated bottles of water, and less than a gallon. So we're going to have a kind of an educational campaign going out, but you have a copy of the regulation itself, and you're familiar with this because they came in and spoke to you. And there is a punitive part to this as far as an enforcement, I should say. Written warning, $100 fine, $150 for second. Third is $300. So how we gain compliance in public health is through education and engagement, and not to be punitive, right? So we have about 2 months, and I don't think we're going to be hard and fast about the December 31st. Going into the first of the year, retailers may need to exhaust their inventory that they might have, so we want to work with them. But if we aren't able to gain compliance, as you know, the permits that you issue as a board, they have to be compliant with all other town regulations. So it's incumbent upon the retailers, the food service, permit holders, license holders, that they also adhere to this. So over the next 2 months, there'll be, whether it's on social media, town hall, the high traffic venues, the recycling center, things of that nature. We're going to try to get this out far and wide. This regulation will go out with their applications, so they're very familiar with it. The town administrator is also putting out a letter to the retailers. We'll work with the Chamber of Commerce. But it is that restriction of bottled water, of bottled plastic water, is that's a major disruption for the consumer and for the retailers, the business communities, people visiting the town. We want to make sure that that's well communicated across multiple venues. And that goes into effect, technically goes into effect on December 31st, as written. And that, it should be stated, this was not a governmental initiative. This was done by citizens petition.
And there's several towns also.
Well, we are not the only.
Yeah, we're not the
We're not the,
first.
we're not the only,
Yeah.
no. It's a very good point. And actually, and I don't know that I can recite the towns, some have passed this and then rescinded it. So I'm not foreshadowing anything, I'm just saying that in fact, it's been volatile, but it's in multiple communities.
Has there been any discussion, probably it's not happened yet, about installing some water fountains that have the
Yeah.
where you just put your own bottle underneath it and it fills it up? Because I'm seeing more and more of those
Yeah.
around.
Well, that's what we're moving towards, right? That's exactly what we're moving towards, Mary. I haven't heard that, I haven't been part of certainly any of those discussions, nor have I heard them, but that would be exactly what we're moving to, is going to be containers like Hillard has, and you need to be able to refill those stations. So that may be a byproduct of this bylaw.
Big
Recharging
water
station.
bottles that go in the machines in a lot of places, those come under this.
So those are over a gallon. So this is anything under a gallon.
Oh, okay, you're just after the small stuff?
Again, I had nothing to do with this. You're saying that the big containers, the office containers, those are usually 5 gallons. Some of them may be 2 or 3, but typically, and I'll use the Poland Springs, typically the dispensers.
Yeah.
Those are 5-gallon containers. I had one at my home. That's not applicable to this. This is a single-use, under a gallon, plastic, non-flavored, non-carbonated water.
We won't see people coming out of Stop and Shop with these big crates in the cart, 3 or 4 crates of water.
Cases of water, if you can open it up and it's individually less than a gallon, cases of water are not allowed.
Right.
The environmentalists that gave that discussion, they gave a very compelling reason for this law, I think.
Yes.
That
You know,
here several months ago.
They were,
Yeah.
right. I think it was September we had them here. You know what struck me on that conversation, Ed, in their presentation was that we treated as a community, not just Yarmouth, but as a society, landfills were for, right, biodegradable materials. And then we had plastics, and we treated it the same way, knowing full well, and I think she used the expression that we're just kind of diverting the payment on that. We're going to put them into landfills, knowing full well that those aren't going to, they're not biodegradable, but we didn't have an answer for that. She was a BU professor. She did a great job on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She
And the thing is,
convinced me to get cans, get aluminum cans.
Okay.
the thing is that many of those bottled waters are just taken from other municipal water systems. And once you open it, it's not going to stay pure,
Right.
unlike your own tap water that you can fill your own bottle with and leave around if you want.
Right. Well, thank you, Mayor. You just connected the dots here for me. I met this last week with Jeff Colby from DPW. The chairman had asked, let's have maybe a presentation, and maybe some others have asked for that as well. Let's get a presentation about the quality of Yarmouth's water. So maybe this aligns very nicely. And they said they're going to take a little bit of time. And I think someone mentioned that there is a consumer report that comes in every year.
Annual
That's fairly
report.
detailed. That's granular in that.
Right.
This will be at a higher level. How many? Okay, there's 24 wells. This is how it's monitored. This is how it's distributed, so that you, as a board, know and the community understands. There'll be a presentation from them, and that just happened last week with Laurie and Jeff Colby. And I hope in the not too distant future that won't go on too long without a presentation here, so that you and the community understands the high quality of Yarmouth's water.
At the last town meeting, a citizen made a disparaging remark about Yarmouth Town Water, and Jeff spoke right up and said that he thinks that we probably have the best water on the Cape.
Well, I agree.
Agree.
He said that at the meeting that I had with him. I met at DPW. They're going to be here to present exactly that information.
Because people really don't understand all that goes into getting us the water that we have come
You
on
go to
our
the faucet and you turn it on, right?
Yep.
We certainly have a lot more information on that water than the
Yes.
bottled water.
Absolutely, you're right, absolutely.
So we'll have a tasting that night when he comes in.
There you go.
Tell him to bring water, but not in plastic bottles.
Good one. All right. Yep. That's what I have for new business.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, let's move along to adjournment time.
You said the next meeting, I think the board had said they would not meet the week of Thanksgiving.
Right.
So I believe it's December 4th. I don't have it with me, but I believe that's the first
Anybody have their phone, whatever?
first Monday.
December 4th.
4th, okay.
I have one question. You had, also in our packet was the Dennis and Yarmouth Subcommittee recommendations for the substance abuse monies that are, yeah. And I had a question about Recovery Build Alternative Peer Group. I've never heard of that, and I wondered if they could come in and, at some point, and talk to us about what they're doing.
Mary, thank you on that. 'Cause that's the opioid money, and I wanted just the board to be aware of it. That now it has come in, it was accepted at town meeting, and now it's starting to flow out.
Right.
Okay, so have them, yeah, no, that'd
I
be
mean,
nice.
just, I don't know, have you ever heard of them?
No.
I hadn't either.
Okay.
It just,
We'll invite them in.
they're in the schools, so.
Right. So, did the board say December 4th?
Yeah, that's fine with me, sure. You want to go back to item 8? Anyone?
If I'm not mistaken, all the Cape's water comes from an aquifer under Boston from the state of Maine.
Well, there's several
Almost
aquifers
20
here.
years ago, the state of Maine decided that you can't do a septic system. Has nothing to do with the towns up there. They have a state crew that comes in and they perk test wherever you are. And they tell you what kind of a system you're gonna put in.
Kind of system of,
No, because I had to put a system in my house up in Maine. And so the homeowner, the town, has nothing to do with septic. It's all state,
so now you're referring to here or up in Maine?
up in Maine.
Oh, up in Maine, okay, yeah, no,
All
I'm
our
not.
water comes from up there, comes right under Boston. I had a guy tell me that, and when I went to do the septic system at the house, I said, well, he says, I can do it. He says, but we gotta get the state in here. I said, are you serious? He says, yep. And I met the guys. They don't charge anything for it. 2 guys came in, spent 3 days there on my property,
Yep,
and then they told me, this is the system you're gonna put in.
okay,
It's not optional. I went, okay.
okay, yeah. I'm not familiar, but Jeff Colby will be here in future. at a
They
few-
don't want the water to get contaminated up there, so we don't get contaminated down here.
Okay, well, we'll,
I was amazed. The state of Maine's looking out for us.
wasn't familiar with that at all.
I learned that when I had my septic system done.
I move that we adjourn.
Thank you, Mary. Is there a second?
Second.
Please. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.